Our mission was called a successful failure, in that we returned safely but never made it to the moon.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the best movies that were reasonably faithful to reality.
I could have got more. Oscar, there are 1,100 people who are alive because of you.
Number 30, The Big Short.
And then that happens.
What is that?
That's America's housing market.
If you want a truthful glimpse into how the 2007 to 2008 global financial crisis unfurled, you don't need to watch a documentary. Just spend 2 hours with The Big Short. Director Adam McKay does a terrific job conveying complex financial ideas and making them fiercely entertaining. The movie's based on Michael Lewis's book of the same name and adapts much of its information, giving a realistic rundown of the United States housing crisis and how it ruined the global economy. Financial experts have praised the film for its accuracy, and biographical information is relatively accurate, bar the changing of names. We don't want the movie to be true, but it is.
Just kidding. Banks took the money the American people gave them and they used it to pay themselves huge bonuses and lobby the Congress to kill big reform. And then they blamed immigrants and poor people.
Number 29, Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World.
I could walk briskly, pausing only to take the most important measure, but certainly making valuable discoveries that could help advance our knowledge of natural history.
While the story is entirely fictional, Master and Commander is probably the closest you'll ever get to living during the Napoleonic Wars. A tremendous amount of research went into making this movie, and a tremendous amount of talent was required to bring it to the screen. Virtually everything you see and hear in the film is realistic. The primitive medical practices, the costumes, the sailing techniques, the Oscar-winning sounds of battle, all brilliantly captured and ripped straight from the history books. They even filmed aboard the HMS Surprise, which is a full-scale replica of the HMS Rose from the 18th century. No detail was spared, and the results are magnificent.
England is under threat of invasion. And though we be on the far side of the world, this ship is our home.
Number 28, Bridge of Spies.
Instead, you treat us as stooges for the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics.
Can we just call them the Russians? It'll save time.
One of Spielberg's best films of the 21st century, Bridge of Spies relays the exchange of American pilot Francis Gary Powers and Soviet spy Rudolf Abel during the Cold War. This exchange occurred on Germany's Glienicke Bridge, and Spielberg used the real bridge in the climactic scene of the film, accurately relaying the visual language of the historic trade. Of course, that's not the only thing that the movie got right. It also correctly relayed a number of story beats, like Donovan urging the judge not to order Abel's death and going through the Berlin Wall by himself. Cold War historian James Hirschberg would later review the film positively, giving its climactic bridge sequence an 8 out of 10 on the realistic scale.
I'm sorry, I didn't think to get you a gift.
This is your gift.
Number 27, Stalingrad.
Weißt du, Hans, zu Hause, wenn du als Soldat verreckst, sind sie sogar stolz auf dich.
Like Master and Commander, Stalingrad gets major points for its atmosphere, and what a bleak film it is. Directed by Josef Welzmeier, it follows a number of German soldiers in the fateful Battle of Stalingrad, the most decisive skirmish in World War II and perhaps the bloodiest battle in human history. The Germans lost, and Stalingrad is a terrific depiction of what a typical unit might have encountered in the city. This includes the nightmarishly dour ending which sees everyone dying, often with great agony. And with a good eye for historic weapons, costumes, and props, Stalingrad proves an uncomfortably authentic glimpse into one of history's most important battles.
Mach dir doch nichts vor. Du solltest am besten wissen, ihr seid Soldaten und ihr bleibt Soldaten. Eure Heimat ist der Krieg.
Number 26, Zero Dark 30.
But Bin Laden is there. And you're gonna kill him for me.
While it sparked some controversy for its violent depiction of CIA activities among other things, Zero Dark 30 earned widespread acclaim as a piece of filmmaking and went on to receive 5 Oscar nominations. Despite the controversies, director Catherine Bigelow claims that everything that happens on screen is representative of first-hand accounts. But what really sticks in the mind is the climactic assault on Osama bin Laden's compound. The scene was meticulously researched and filmed with the utmost accuracy, faithfully recreating the tense attack and the killing of the infamous terrorist. This was accomplished with the help of Defense Secretary Leon Panetta, who gave the filmmakers an exclusive look at classified information regarding the raid.
Osama!
Number 25, All the President's Men.
I never asked about Watergate. I simply asked what were Hunt's duties at the White House. They volunteered he was innocent when nobody asked if he was guilty.
Alan J. Pakula's film is a tense and terrific espionage thriller, and the best part about it is that it's real. All the President's Men is based on the book of the same name by Carl Bernstein and Bob Woodward, two journalists at the Washington Post who uncovered the Watergate scandal. Their work has been called maybe the single greatest reporting effort of all time, and it's all relayed in fascinating detail throughout this film. It's accurate in both the details and the general atmosphere of the time, faithful to the historic characters and the integrity of professional journalism. Even the physical details of the office were correct, thanks to having the executive editor of the Washington Post as a consultant.
I can't do the reporting for my reporters, which means I have to trust them. And I hate trusting anybody.
Number 24, Hotel Rwanda.
They said there wasn't any room.
There's always room.
Hotel Rwanda earned critical acclaim and 3 Oscar nominations. It depicts the terrifying events that occurred in Rwanda throughout the spring and summer of 1994, in which the Tutsi group were systematically killed by Hutu militias. It's estimated that up to 800,000 people died in the attacks. Hotel Rwanda is an unfortunately faithful recreation not just of the general events, but the specific story of Paul Rusesabagina, who housed refugees in his hotel. This part of the movie is certainly looser than the general atmosphere of the killings, which are depicted with startling accuracy and prove a good history lesson for those interested in the tragic event.
I am glad that you have shot this footage, and that the world will see it. It is the only way we have a chance that people might intervene.
Number 23, Malcolm X.
But I believe the true practice of Islam can remove the cancer of racism from the hearts and the souls of all Americans.
Considered one of Spike Lee's best films, Malcolm X is an epic concerning the life of the titular activist. The details were taken straight from the autobiography of Malcolm X, which was published back in 1965 and written by both Malcolm X himself and journalist Alex Haley. The film remains mostly accurate, adapting much of the book and correctly depicting many events. It was also praised for its complex depiction of the titular hero, with Spike Lee saying that it examines all the different Malcolms as making up one Malcolm. The director also conducted independent research, like interviewing Malcolm X's relatives in order to get the most realistic account of the man possible. The results are staggering.
Beware of them cameras. Oh, them cameras are bad as any narcotic.
Number 22, Zodiac.
Travis and I worked here side by side for 10 years. His foot gets crushed in an accident, and the killings begin. Coincidence?
I don't know.
You're a cop, man. Do the math.
Like all the President's Men, Zodiac focuses on the art of investigative journalism. It's all about the hunt for the Zodiac killer, which is largely done by cartoonist and amateur sleuth Robert Graysmith. Director David Fincher did a ton of research to make the movie as accurate as possible, spending 18 months interviewing witnesses and reading thousands of official documents. He also accurately depicts the information found in Graysmith's books, even though this information has come under scrutiny in recent years. Maybe the end result doesn't quite land, Arthur Lee Allen was likely not the killer, but much of the details along the way are brilliantly evoked.
Just because you can't prove it doesn't mean it's not true. Easy, Dirty Harry. Finish the book.
Number 21, Goodfellas.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Martin Scorsese has made some fine flicks, but arguably none are better than Goodfellas, a masterpiece of the gangster genre. It recounts the true story of Henry Hill, an ex-mobster who worked under the Lucchese crime family. He was the subject of Nicholas Pileggi's Wise Guy, which in turn was adapted into Goodfellas. All the broad strokes are here, depicting the real story of Henry Hill, with a fair degree of reality. But once again, most of the realism comes through in the details, and in this way, Goodfellas remains one of the most accurate glimpses into the mafia. In fact, a former mob boss named Michael Franzese once did a Reddit AMA and claimed that Goodfellas was the most authentic mob movie ever made.
Not just, you know how you tell a story. What?
Number 20, Lawrence of Arabia. One of David Lean's many masterpieces, Lawrence of Arabia details the experiences of T.E. Lawrence in the First World War.
He was the most extraordinary man I ever knew.
Did you know him well?
I knew him.
The movie is based on Lawrence's own book, 7 Pillars of Wisdom, which was published in 1926. The film has its flaws in regards to history, using dramatic license to depict an epic cinematic adventure. Most of the criticism is aimed at the portrayal of Lawrence himself, but many biographers have argued against this criticism. The defenders claim that while imperfect, the movie contains a reasonably accurate depiction of the historic figure and his actions. Biographer Stephen E. Tabachnik even praises the film as a whole, calling it appropriate and true to the text of 7 Pillars of Wisdom.
Could you give me a few words about Colonel Lawrence?
What, more words? The revolt in the desert played a decisive part in the Middle Eastern campaign.
Number 19, Milk. On January 8, 1978, the openly gay Harvey Milk made California history when he was inducted as a member of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors.
You're pretty cute, but I don't date guys over 40.
Well, then, this is my lucky night.
Why is that?
I'm still 39.
His film is quite accurate, with its story tracing back to the 1982 biography The Mayor of Castro Street, which was written by San Francisco Chronicle reporter Randy Shilts. This book inspired the Oscar-winning documentary The Times of Harvey Milk. These sources provide a great framework for the film, which accurately captured the life of Milk and the politics of the day. Even the chilling words of Milk predicting his own assassination were lifted directly from the documentary.
Friday, November 18th. This is only to be played in the event of my death by assassination.
The Guardian called Milk the creme de la creme of faithful biopics, and it's not hard to see why. Number 18, Spotlight. Winning Best Picture at the 88th Academy Awards, Spotlight follows a small news team as they reveal uncomfortable truths within the Catholic Church.
Keep our eye on the Herald. They run this and they get it wrong. The church will bury it. We got to do this now.
The film is an accurate retelling of the real Spotlight team and its efforts in winning this 2003 Pulitzer Prize for Public Service. Included are the award-winning reporters and the Boston Globe's editor-at-large, Walter V. Robinson. Some events were made up or exaggerated for dramatic purposes, but the film remains a fairly realistic portrayal of history. Even the Catholic Church praised the film's authenticity. The Catholic News Service called it generally accurate, and Vatican Radio referred to it as honest. Sometimes truth is more disturbing than fiction.
It's a big school, Robbie. You know that. And we're talking about 7 alleged victims over, 8 years?
Number 17, Gallipoli. Starring Mel Gibson as Frank Dunn, Gallipoli is another film centered around the Ottoman Empire in the First World War.
No thanks. If you blokes all want to go and get yourselves shot, go ahead.
Well, I'm not scared to die for my country, Frank.
Well, good for you, Snow. You go and sign yourself on.
Per its name, this film primarily covers the Gallipoli campaign, which occurred in modern-day Turkey and resulted in Ottoman victory. When it comes to war, Gallipoli is none too accurate, especially in its shoddy depiction of the climactic Battle of the Neck. Most of the film's accuracy lies in its representation of lifestyles. For example, Gallipoli accurately conveys the horrific conditions that soldiers faced throughout the Gallipoli campaign. Furthermore, it serves as a fantastic period piece about Australian life in the early 20th century. When it comes to visuals and atmosphere, Gallipoli is a triumph of accuracy.
I'd be ashamed of myself if I didn't fight.
Well, that only proves one thing, that you and I are different. Let's drop it, eh?
Number 16, The Imitation Game. A highly successful movie, The Imitation Game chronicles the life of Alan Turing and his time decoding secret German messages in World War II.
You have an opportunity here to make some actual use of your life.
And end up like you, no thanks.
This fascinating story is based on the biography Alan Turing the Enigma, written by esteemed mathematician Andrew Hodges. Unfortunately, the real story is so complex that a movie adaptation would never do it justice. But The Imitation Game does a solid job of conveying the basics. Some of the more dramatic and unsettling aspects of the story are lifted straight from history. These include Turing being put on trial for gross indecency and his subsequent chemical castration. The film even earned praise from Turing's descendants, many of whom complimented the performance of Benedict Cumberbatch.
Well, the judge gave me a choice, either 2 years in prison or hormonal therapy.
Oh my God.
Number 15, First Man. Neil Armstrong is one of the most important figures in human history, having been the first person to step foot on the moon.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
A biography titled First Man, The Life of Neil A. Armstrong was published in 2005, and it's from this book that Damien Chazelle sourced the story. First Man isn't so much about the Apollo mission, but the life of Armstrong himself. A few factual liberties were made, like Armstrong bringing his deceased daughter's bracelet to the moon. But First Man is nonetheless very accurate, faithfully depicting Armstrong's reserved personality and journey to the moon. Chazelle even included the orchestral Lunar Rhapsody in the dance scene, as this was the actual piece of music that Armstrong and his wife danced to.
Do you remember this?
Yeah. I'm surprised that you remember it.
Number 14, Gettysburg. There's a lot of material to mine from the Battle of Gettysburg, which occurred from July 1st to 3rd in 1863. But Ronald F. Maxwell's epic got the job done.
We hold this ridge for a couple hours, we can keep them away. We can block that road till the main body gets here. We can deprive the enemy of the high ground.
The length certainly helps. Gettysburg was actually shot as a miniseries, which explains the imposing 4+ hours running time. Many historians have praised the movie's faithful and respectful approach to the battle. All the major players are present, and the film was meticulous in nailing down historical aspects like battle strategies, costumes, props, and character motivations. The National Park Service even provided the filmmakers with the rare opportunity to film on the real Gettysburg battlefield, which lent a great deal of authenticity to the setting.
Reynolds, my old friend Ulysses Sam Grant. There were some good men in that army.
Yes, sir, there were indeed.
Some of those men are waiting for us now up ahead on those ridges.
Number 13, The Longest Day. Military historian Cornelius Ryan wrote The Longest Day, a very popular book about the D-Day invasion of 1944.
There it is, men. Omaha Beach, dead ahead.
It was published in 1959 and turned into a movie just 3 years later. Nearly 3 hours in length, the film serves as an epic examination of the Normandy landings. Many cast members actually served in World War II, and their military experience is central in the film's accuracy. Richard Todd, who plays Major John Howard, actually took part in D-Day and even helped recreate his own personal experience for the movie. The film was also shot at many real locations, including Pont de Hook, and D-Day veterans worked as historical consultants. It all ensured a war epic that brims with genuine and frightening history.
Oh, the evil of it all, trying to down a man before he's even had a chance to fight. Ah, come on.
Number 12, City of God. Brazilian author Paulo Lins was raised in the Rio suburb of Cidade de Deus, or City of God.
Esse cara aí é o Cabeleira. Para eu contar a história da Cidade de Deus, eu preciso começar por ele.
Known as a violent and impoverished favela, City of God became the subject of Lins's semi-autobiographical novel of the same name. With the story spanning multiple decades, City of God offers unknowing viewers a horrific and tragic glimpse into the favela's geography, economy, and culture of organized crime. The film is even composed of amateur actors, many of whom came from the real City of God. They underwent an acting workshop that taught them how to simulate the area's crime. The movie was shot in a real favela, with producers coming into conflict with local slumlords. The resulting atmosphere is authentically gritty and uncomfortable.
Todo dia alguém apanhava, alguém ia preso, alguém estava mal. Mas ninguém nunca via nada, ninguém sabia de nada.
Number 11, A Bridge Too Far. Cornelius Ryan strikes again. Based on his 1974 book of the same name, A Bridge Too Far recounts the story of Operation Market Garden.
That, gentlemen, is the prize. The bridge over the Rhine. The last bridge between us and Germany.
This was one of the largest airborne operations of World War II. Its aim was to secure various bridges in the Netherlands, thereby granting Allied access into Germany. The period was faithfully recreated by using real military hardware and authentic Dutch locations. The complex battle logistics were also fairly accurate. This is because Roy Urquhart and Brian Horrocks, respectively played by Sean Connery and Edward Fox in the film, served as military advisors. With a solid foundation in Ryan's book and first-hand accounts of the operation, A Bridge Too Far is a great exercise in historical authenticity.
How are you? I'm not sure that I'll know for a while. But I'm sorry about the way it worked out.
Number 10, Come and See. A subversive response to a long history of Soviet war propaganda films, Come and See was written by director Elem Klimov with the help of an ex-partisan who fought against the Nazis, along with numerous eyewitness accounts. The production of the subjective and the realistic portrayal of the German occupation of Belarusia was almost as brutal as the subject matter. Alexei Kravkin, playing the lead role, was a non-professional actor who endured fatigue and hunger during filming, all the while dodging live ammunition used instead of blanks for the filming. Meanwhile, wartime documentary-style footage made the film a stunning testament to the suffering endured by ordinary people fighting for their lives on the Russian front.
Я только полетаю над вами, пришлю гостинчиков. А можем остаток клетки прислать.
Number 9, Flags of Our Fathers.
And if we wish to truly honor these men, we should remember them the way they really were, the way my dad remembered them.
In 1945, Joe Rosenthal's iconic photograph of U.S. Marines raising the stars and stripes on the captured island of Iwo Jima brought fame to its subjects. Clint Eastwood's epic war film was based on a best-selling book written by the son of one of the men in the photo, James Bradley, who also provided narration and interviews with veterans for the movie.
I'm sorry. Sorry. You were the best father a man could have.
Flags of Our Fathers' depiction of the horrors of warfare and the tragedy of what comes after was praised by the U.S. Marine Corps chief historian for its attention to detail and historical verisimilitude, particularly the depiction of the harsh terrain where the Marines fought. Number 8, Lincoln. Historians and critics gave a warm reception to this painstaking recreation of President Lincoln's fight to have the 13th Amendment passed in the closing months of the American Civil War.
It's not Wilmington Port. It's not a military campaign.
It's the amendment to abolish slavery. Why else would you force me to invite demented radicals into my home?
The film was shot in Richmond, Fredericksburg, and Petersburg in Virginia, where historical architecture from the period remains today. Daniel Day-Lewis received widespread accolades for his masterful performance as President Lincoln, paying attention to key character details like the president's unexpectedly high voice and propensity as a master storyteller.
They said she murdered her husband. He was 83. He was choking her, and she grabbed a hold of a stick of firewood and fractured his skull, and he died.
Tommy Lee Jones was also praised for his performance as Thaddeus Stevens, a 19th century master of insults and sarcastic wit.
Slavery is the only insult to natural law, you fatuous nincompoop.
Number 7. Das Boot. This claustrophobic depiction of wartime life aboard a German U-boat submarine was based on a novel by Lothar Gunther Buchheim, who served as a naval war correspondent on the U-96 during World War II's Battle of the Atlantic. With the commander of the U-96 as technical advisor, an obsessively accurate replica of the vessel interior was built, which could be hydraulically rocked, shaken, and tilted up to 45 degrees. Realism was also enhanced by location shooting at the wartime boat pen at La Rochelle. Das Boot is a stunning depiction of the confinement, tedium, and terror of ordinary men caught in the war beneath the waves.
Gute Leute muss man hier machen. Gute Leute.
Number 6. Torah, Torah, Torah. This documentary-like account of the attack on Pearl Harbor showed both sides of the battle, emphasizing the historical context and detailed planning of the attack.
I'd make a bet they're going to attack us. Japan is going to attack us. The 29th is only 4 days off.
Producers and directors from Japan and the United States filmed their perspectives separately, which were then combined into a single film. Technical advisors from both sides were spared no expense to make the sets and scenes as true to life as possible. Full-scale replicas of naval vessels were built, and American training planes were made to resemble wartime Japanese planes, which added to the realism of what was being shown on screen.
One wheel stuck, sir.
Well, jolt it loose. We're going in.
Number 5. 12 Years a Slave. Based on the 1853 biography of freed ex-slave Solomon Northup, this film was praised by historians and critics alike for its brutal depiction of the reality of slavery in Louisiana.
500 pounds of cotton, day in, day out.
Steve McQueen's distinct directorial style and the unforgettable performances of Chiwetel Ejiofor and others helped to bring the cruelty and barbarity of slavery to horrific life. 12 Years a Slave vividly portrays the social and historical realities of a past where men and women were used and abused as chattel, while emphasizing Solomon Northup's astonishing achievements.
I will not fall into despair. I will offer up my talents to Master Ford. I will keep myself hardy till freedom is opportune.
Number 4. The Pianist. This film was closely based on an autobiographical book by the pianist and Holocaust survivor Władysław Szpilman.
By order of the governor of the Warsaw District, Dr. Fischer, concerning the establishment of the Jewish district in Warsaw. There will be created a Jewish district in which all Jews living in Warsaw or moving to Warsaw will have to reside.
However, director Roman Polanski had additional motivation to respect the history on which The Pianist draws, as he himself survived the Holocaust in Krakow. This story of one talented man's struggle to survive in the Warsaw ghetto is heartbreaking and poignant, and a testament to the effort to recreate the setting in every detail. From the oppression of the ghetto streets to specific songs Szpilman played, The Pianist is a haunting vision of suffering, made more disturbing by the beauty of the music. Number 3. Schindler's List. Steven Spielberg's award-winning movie is considered by many to be the greatest film about horrors of the Holocaust ever made.
Tomorrow, you'll begin the process of looking for survivors of your families. In most cases, you won't find them.
This tale of German industrialist Oskar Schindler's strategy to save Jewish people from mechanized extermination is a showcase of the highs and lows of the human condition. Holocaust survivor Leopold Poldek Pfefferberg spent years working to have his story of one man's struggle to save those caught in the maw of a destructive hate machine made, and Spielberg's grim and realistic portrayal helps ensure it will never be forgotten.
The list is an absolute good.
The list is life. All around its margins lies the gulf.
Number 2. Downfall. The paranoia and surreal madness of Adolf Hitler's last 10 days holed up in his bunker were masterfully recreated in Downfall, a war flick known in Germany as Der Untergang.
Es ist unmöglich unter diesen Umständen zu führen. Es ist aus. Der Krieg ist verloren.
Based on extensive historical research, the film features fearsomely factual depictions of some of modern history's most vile figures. In fact, many of Hitler's lines were derived from actual quotations taken from his writing. Bruno Ganz gave a terrifying performance as Hitler, both at his most monstrous and his most human. This film shows how, at the end of the day, even the most despicable man in history is still just a man.
Morgen schon werden mich Millionen verfluchen. Aber das Schicksal wollte es nicht anders.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Apollo 13. This tale of a brush with fatal disaster in orbit was based on a book written by science writer Jeffrey Kluger and Apollo 13 mission commander Jim Lovell, as well as first-hand testimony of other astronauts.
Gentlemen, it's been a privilege flying with you.
Made with the technical support of NASA, the historical docudrama was praised for its exact reproduction of Apollo 13 modules and control rooms. Zero-gravity scenes were even filmed in the same KC-135 plane, also called the Vomit Comet, used to simulate weightlessness during astronaut training. The tense tale of survival in space against the odds gained universal praise from real astronauts and earned the filmmakers 2 Oscar wins out of 9 nominations.
This could be the worst disaster NASA's ever experienced.
With all due respect, sir, I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
What are some other historically accurate films we missed? Let us know in the comments below.
And when all was said and done, only one single banker went to jail.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.